Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to join me for another video. What I wanted to do today was look at the top 10 offenses that I see for fantasy football in 2022. I want to get as many players as possible from these 10 teams because I believe that they are destined to put up a bunch of points, which means more opportunities to get you guys the dub week in and week out. If you are new to the channel or if you just haven't gotten to it yet, if you've enjoyed content from me in the past, as always, I would greatly appreciate a like and subscribe. The support that I get helps me out a ton. It enables me to do what I love so I can keep bringing you guys the content that you love. With that done, let's get into this version of Hot Off the Press. Before I go 10-1, as I always do, I'm going to start with my sleeper team. This one was just outside of my top 10, but they could really improve and show us some things in 2022 that we maybe did not see last year, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. And the reasoning is pretty clear. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be the starter there this season, and that opens things up for Trey Lance. We have seen what he can do with his legs. It's going to transform this 49ers offense, and there are a ton of playmakers on this team that are going to help support you in your quest for a title. When we look at Deebo Samuel, one of the best young wideouts in the league, he can do it all. George Kittle has fallen off maybe a little bit because of injuries, but he is still up there among the best of the best at the position. Brandon Ayuk maybe on the cusp of breaking out. He could certainly do that this year if things go his way. And Elijah Mitchell was an absolute stud that came out of nowhere last year as a rookie. Defenses are going to have to decide who they want to put their resources on, and that's going to leave others open for big plays and success. And this was a top 12 team last year as far as total offensive touchdowns scored. So a lot to like about the 49ers, and they were not even one of my top 10 teams. Which brings us to number 10, and it is the Denver Broncos. Obviously, the addition of Russell Wilson changes everything, and I think Denver is going to be able to open up the playbook and do some things last year that they could have only dreamed about. When we look at the weapons in Denver, with Javonte Williams emerging in the backfield, Melvin Gordon is back for another run. They are solid there, and that is going to put pressure on a defense. And then if you open it up with Russell Wilson, his ability to throw the deep ball, you have Tim Patrick as a great number 3, Jerry Jeudy, if he can stay healthy, has all of the talent in the world, and Courtland Sutton may be the best wide receiver too that no one knows about. So there are a lot of things to like about this Denver offense. I think they're going to put up a ton of points, and if I can get pieces on this team, I want to do that because they're going to provide opportunities to score week in and week out. In at number 9 is the Minnesota Vikings, and this might be a surprise to some, but there are way too many pieces here for Minnesota to fall outside of the top 10 for me. You have the perennially underrated quarterback in Kirk Cousins. You can say what you want about him, but year in and year out, he's in the top 15, top 12 in fantasy. He is going to put up numbers. Minnesota has one of the best groups of playmakers in the league, top to bottom. They have a top 5 wide receiver at Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen, though he is getting forgotten and faded really hard right now, has scored 24 touchdowns in the last 2 years. He is no slouch. Then Dalvin Cook in the backfield, a top 5, maybe top 3 talent at running back. There is going to be a lot of points scored for the Minnesota Vikings. When you add in the return of Irv Smith Jr. at tight end, it's just another layer for this offense to take advantage of. And then you bring in Kevin O'Connell from the Super Bowl winning Los Angeles Rams to run that offense and breathe new life in it. I like a lot of what Minnesota has on the table. This was a top 12 team last year in offensive yardage, and I think that they improve upon that this season. On to number 8, and I have the Kansas City Chiefs here, even with all of the losses that they suffered in the offseason. The offensive line is supposed to be great this year. PFF already has them in the top 10. It's going to help Mahomes out a ton. They had the number 3 ranked offense in total yardage last year, and they were 4th in touchdowns in 2021. At the end of the day, Kansas City still has Mahomes, and they still have the genius that is Andy Reid, and I think that is enough to keep them in the conversation. They are not going to fall too far. Travis Kelce is still unstoppable in the wide receiver room, although the upper echelon of talent is obviously gone. With the loss of Tyreek Hill, they are deeper than they have ever been in Mahomes' career. The Cowboys in Dallas are my number 7 ranked team. They have the projected number 6 offensive line according to PFF in 2022. And they were the number 1 offense in the entire NFL last season when we look at both touchdowns and total yardage. They also get to play in the NFC least, and that helps them out tremendously because it means 6 games are against mostly lesser competition. Dalton Schultz just broke out. CeeDee Lamb is going to in a big way this year, and they have an awesome combination in the backfield with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Dallas is going to be once again among the top scoring teams in the league, and so if I can get a player with a star on the helmet, I am certainly going to do that. Next up at 6, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. And I get that their offensive line is a concern. I think that that is a valid point, but they were an absolute train wreck last year. I think they finished 28th, and they still were able to ball out with Derek Carr at the helm, and that was with all the drama that the Raiders also had to deal with. Carr has never had anything close to this sort of weaponry on offense, and the addition of Devontae Adams absolutely transforms this offense. With Josh McDaniels coming in, I think he can also switch it up a little bit and help elevate this Raiders offense to the next level. And they were already 11th last year in total offensive yardage, so it's not like they're coming from the bottom of the barrel. The Raiders have a ton to have to deal with when we also look at Darren Waller. Hunter Renfrow began to ascend last year, and Josh Jacobs, when he has remained healthy, has been a very solid force in the backfield. So if I can get a Raider on my squad, I want to do that. They are going to continue to put up touchdowns. We've made it to my top 5. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is pretty simple. Brady is back, which means the Bucs are back in action, and they are going to threaten to be one of the top couple seeds in the NFC, and they're going to do it by putting up over 30 points a game. Now, I know Chris Godwin is not back yet, and there's some question as to when that's going to happen. But even if he's not back early in the year, and that looks likely at this point, there is still solid depth at wide receiver for the Bucs. With all of these options, Brady's going to be able to get the ball to the right man, as he has done throughout his entire career. And they have Leonard Fournette in the backfield to hand it off to, and he has found a home in Tampa Bay in this second season of his career. The Bucs have the number 4 projected offensive line according to PFF, and that is going to be huge, not only for the running game, but for giving Brady the time that he needs to dissect a defense and take advantage. After scoring the second most touchdowns in the entire league last year, the Bucs could certainly push for that number 1 spot. The Los Angeles Rams are here next at number 4, and they have the 11th ranked offensive line coming into 2022, even with the loss of Andrew Whitworth, which is huge for this team. They were also a top 10 team scoring touchdowns, and we know that Sean McVay is going to find a way to continue to get it done. We know that Stafford to Kupp is the real deal, and it could be the number 1 pairing once again this year after Kupp just pushed for 2,000 yards. And I do not want to undervalue the addition of Allen Robinson here. I think he fits in really well with what the Rams are going to want to do on offense. The loss of Robert Woods stings, but Robinson is able to pick up the slack and fill in. And then we look at Tutu Atwell. They have Brian Skoranek still there. And also Van Jefferson is an emerging number 3. So plenty to love about the Rams offense. In the backfield, you have Cam Akers coming back. And I know he didn't look great last year, but he was really rushed in returning from that preseason injury. And I think he's going to be 100% or close to it by the time the season starts. They are once again going to be one of the top teams scoring points in the league. Sticking with Los Angeles, I have the Chargers up next at number 3. There is so much to like about what LA brings, and we start with the quarterback in Justin Herbert, who could be a top 5 quarterback by the time this season is over. Just threw for over 5,000 yards in his second season, and the sky is the limit for him. Then out wide, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You love that duo. Mike Williams with his fat new contract, gonna have to try to live up to that. Austin Eckler is one of the best running backs as far as overall what he can do, both catching it and running it. It is going to be very hard to stop the Chargers. They also have a very solid offensive line, currently ranked 12th according to PFF. That is gonna help open up lanes for Eckler and give Herbert all the time he needs to damage a defense. There are a lot of elite options on this Chargers offense, and any one of them on my squad is gonna make me happy. To number 2, and I have the Cincinatti Bengals here. I've talked ad nauseum about how much I love this triple threat at wide receiver. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. There is no comparison to it in the entire league. This is a team that already scored the 6th most touchdowns on offense last season, and they went from one of the worst offensive lines in the entire league to having a top 10 projected offensive line in 2022. I do not think we can state enough how massive this change is, not only going to be for Joe Burrow, but also for Joe Mixon in the backfield. I think he's an underrated star this year in fantasy. We have only seen cool Joe Burrow continue to get better and to ascend, and I think he continues on that track this year. With that improved offensive line, he's gonna have even more time to figure out what he needs to do, where he needs to deliver the ball, and make the defense pay. I want as many Bengals as I can possibly have on my squad this year. Which brings me to number 1. It is the Buffalo Bills. Led by Josh Allen, they are going to be a force of nature in 2022. Out wide, obviously, it starts with Stephon Diggs. He is going to put up monster numbers and should have a career year. Gabriel Davis, after breaking out towards the end of last season and especially in the playoffs, is primed for a monster campaign, and I do not want to undersell how much I love him in fantasy. He is a great wide receiver 2 option that you probably can get a little cheaper. After being a top 5 offense, both in touchdowns and in offensive yardage last season, Buffalo looks for that number 1 spot, and I think they have everything that it takes to get there. I know the running game was a bit of a concern outside of Josh Allen's ability, but Devin Singletary did step it up to end the year, and then the Bills went out and drafted a young running back out of Georgia in James Cook. I think he alleviates some of the concerns in the backfield. The Bills are going to be fun to watch next year, and if you have players on this squad, it's going to be even more enjoyable for you. And that is all I have for you guys for the video today. I really hope you enjoyed the content. If there is something specific that you are hoping that I drop before fantasy season kicks in, drop that down below. I would love to engage with you. Make sure you drop a like and a subscribe on the video and check out all of the other content that I have. It's coming fast and furious because fantasy football season is upon us. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and I will see you next time.